Welcome to Jackrabbit Journal. The basketball season is rolling on for both the SDSU men and the women. The Jackrabbit men are in Fort Collins, Colorado as we speak. The Jacks are set to play Colorado State on Wednesday night in the first round of the NIT. And more on the men coming up in a little bit. The Jackrabbit women, meanwhile, are in the NCAA tournament for the sixth time in the last 7 years. And the Jacks found out on Monday that they will play Oregon State in the first round of the tournament. That game is on Friday. It's on Oregon State's home floor in Corvallis and is set to start at 4 o'clock Central Time. Now, the Jackrabbits got a 14 seed in the tournament this year. So what do they think of that? Let's find out. Our man David Brown sat down with head coach Aaron Johnston after the announcement.
Well, we had to wait longer than we have the last few times we've been in the tournament. We were one of the last teams announced, so it was a little bit exciting kind of trying to predict where you're going to be. Oregon State's a really good team. We know a little bit about them. I've just seen them play in the last couple months, a couple times just on TV. Really good point guard, really big inside. Some things that have presented problems for us, so we're going to have a good plan for how to defend their strengths. And also, they've played really well. 3-4 years ago, that was a team that was trying to build an identity and really struggling, and here they are, a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So that's a very, very steep, ascension to one of the best teams in the country. So my point is they're playing a lot of momentum. They got a lot of excitement, just a lot of positive going on with their program right now.
Now, I can't remember from years past. Have you played any Pac-12 or Pac-10 teams from in the past?
Yeah, we have. We actually played Oregon State years ago. They were our second ever Division I game. We played down the Virgin Islands and beat Kentucky in our first game. And then we also played Oregon State and lost to them, I think. So it's been a long time since we played them, years ago. But yeah, we have played Pac-10 teams. We know what Stanford's like. We played Arizona. We played Oregon. So we're familiar with that league and what makes teams good in that league. But Oregon State's a little bit different. Like I said, they don't rely on their getting out and pressuring you. They rely on being very, very good offensively. They score a lot of points and they're very efficient.
From a Summit League tournament perspective, you guys were obviously determined to get back after what happened last year. It seemed that in the championship game, you were just clicking on all cylinders. What about that game particularly had you guys so ready to go?
Well, I think our team really wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. I don't think it had really anything to do with last year or anything. I just think our team was hungry to prove we can be a championship caliber team. This year in the regular season, we had some bumps in the road, some injuries, some just kind of crazy travel, some of it just didn't play well enough against good teams. I think getting into the conference tournament really focused our team on trying to compete for a championship. I thought we played at a really high level on both ends. It was fun to be a part of and a great memory for our players.
First 2 rounds playing Denver and Oral Roberts, it seemed there were some struggles early, some struggles late, but then you guys eventually pulled away and pulled through. What did those 2 teams present challenge-wise for you?
I think the thing we can take away from the tournament and the games we had to play, the tough game against Oral Roberts, tough game against Denver, even USD, was just how tough you have to be, how gritty you have to be on every possession. You just can't take possessions off. You can't let teams get some momentum going. All those games were incredibly difficult for us. None of them we just rolled through. So I think our team just kind of reminded itself of the resiliency you have to play at a high level. And I think we can take some of those lessons into the NCAA tournament because these games aren't going to be easy. We're going to play great competition, and we're going to have to be very, very tough-minded to move forward.
You mentioned a couple weeks ago that despite the win-loss record, you felt this team was as good as any of your other past NCAA tournament teams. Summit League tournament prove your point?
Yeah, I think so. I think this team is built in a really good way to have a chance in the tournament. We're really long. Our starters are all 6 foot or taller. Very athletic. We've got a lot of depth. We have a lot of versatility, players that can shoot it, players that can post up, make free throws. We don't turn the ball over. Just a lot of things it takes to win come tournament time. None of that means we're going to play well. None of it means you're going to have success. But the team is built, I think, to move on in the postseason. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how we play.
Since China went down with her foot injury, Ellie Thompson's been in the starting lineup, and it seems you haven't missed a beat at all. And she upped her game, especially in the last 2 Summit League tournament games.
Yeah, Ellie's been more than just a fill-in for China. She's done things that maybe China didn't do, and now that we're able to bring China back, we have China's strengths as well. So when you put Ellie and China in there together now at that 4 spot, it's really a tough matchup for a lot of other teams because they both shoot it well enough, they both can post up, they both rebound. But I think it's easy to say we wouldn't be here talking about an NCAA tournament without the play of Ellie Thompson down the stretch for us.
Is she going to remain in the starting lineup?
Yeah, we think we'll move forward with Ellie at this point. And what I mean by move forward is this week as we get ready, we'll kind of see how she does. Some of it is China still she's 100% healthy, but not 100% back into things. So what we saw from China in the conference tournament is only a glimpse of what China's potential is. So if she gets closer to it, we're certainly not going to keep her out of that starting spot. But Ellie's played awful well, and we won't want to take away from what she's done for our team either.
Yeah, it seemed that China, healthy, but still trying to get her feet wet a little bit during the conference tournament.
Yeah, 4 weeks off is a long time for anybody, and then to jump into that environment of the conference tournament and be expected to play at a high level is a pretty tall task for anybody. But I thought China gave us really good minutes, really good passer, didn't try and do too much, got herself to the basket a little bit, defended well, so she's going to be a big part of our plan going forward.
From a seeding perspective, you've been through enough of these selection shows. Does the 14 bother you at all based on how you played, or is it just you got to play who you play?
Yeah, I mean, you got to play what you're dealt with. I think we were probably a 13 for sure if you look at the numbers and where everybody ranked with all the things the NCAA looks at. Could have even been a 12, to be honest with you. I thought we had a couple of losses this year, especially in our conference season, that hurt us. And it just comes down to the people in the room. Do they value your good wins more than they probably devalue your bad losses? And I think for us, we had some NCAA tournament wins against teams that are now in it, and proved we can play with a lot of teams. But we had some tough obstacles there. And I don't know how much they knew about our injury situation or some of the weird travel we had with the back-to-back games. I don't know. But ultimately, we've got to play to what we were dealt. And Oregon State's going to be a good team, and we'll have to live up to that.
From past circumstances at the NCAA tournament, this is nothing new, where you've been a road team and you play a high seed on their home floor. You've had to do it with Oklahoma, with Xavier, with other teams like that. Does that get frustrating, or is this maybe, okay, we know how to deal, this is just a classic road game for us?
Yeah, I think we look at it as just the road game, and I think it's going to be a tough road game. Oregon State's had just so much excitement around their program. People are going to be going nuts there, hosting their first ever NCAA tournament there on campus in a long time. So it's really going to be a tough environment. But at the same time, that's what you want in the NCAA tournament. You don't want to go to places and play in front of 500 people. And we had to do that once down in Texas in our first time when we were playing nobody who was really a host seed. So the atmosphere, hopefully it is good, and hopefully that is a challenge, and it's going to make it harder, but it should make it a little more fun too.
Better than the WNIT last year?
Well, I don't know. That Texas-El Paso game with 11,000 people, it's hard to imagine any atmosphere getting better than that. But what you're playing for is a little bit bigger than the WNIT. The atmosphere around it's a little more exciting, and hopefully we can capitalize on it.
Well, up next, the Jackrabbit women are in the national tournament because they won the Summit League tournament, and one of the biggest reasons they did that is a freshman post player named Ellie Thompson. We got her story next.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionato.com.
Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Well, South Dakota State freshman Ellie Thompson was going to kind of take it easy in a sense this season, ease into it, get some minutes as a backup, and then move into a much larger role next season for the Jacks. But then China Stevens got hurt late in the season. Thompson had to step in as a starter for the last 7 games of the regular season, and in a word, she has been great. David Brown has more with the Jackrabbits' newest, youngest star.
South Dakota State's women always seem to reload year after year. With 6 Summit League championships in the past 7 seasons, it's pretty easy to see the next recruiting class always plays its part. And when sophomore China Stevens went down with an injury in the middle of the Summit League season, it was freshman Ellie Thompson who was inserted into the starting lineup.
It definitely made me nervous. Before the first game, I was freaking out, but when I stepped on the court, I knew it was just another game. I took a deep breath, and I just played my heart out. The coaches kind of talked to me about that, and they're like, don't try to do anything you're not comfortable with, so I kind of just let the game come to me.
Ellie's been in the starting lineup since China went out, and we don't feel like she's the same player, but we don't feel like we've lost anything either. Ellie does it differently. She scores around the basket a little more, tough rebounder, someone that plays a lot of energy, and she's getting a good spark for us.
Although she's been starting since mid-January, Thompson knew her role coming in as a freshman, to simply do what she was told.
I'm just trying to make a good play for the team. I honestly don't care if I'm the one that scores or someone else scores, but I just want to win. So getting rebounds, getting good stops on defense, just whatever play is going on right there is what I'm focused on.
Ellie's been sneaky good. We've got a situation where Macy, as a freshman, gets so much attention on our team. But Lexi Alexander and Ellie Thompson are 2 examples of great freshmen that are going to have great careers.
My work ethic is what I take most pride in. I always try to just work as hard as I can every second that I'm on the floor.
At 6'1", Thompson's smart enough to know most of her game takes place down low, but she's not afraid to pull the trigger from deep.
My specialty is probably more inside, but if a girl sags off me 10 feet, I'm gonna knock it down, and that's sort of happened. I don't take a ton of threes, but if you leave me wide open, I'll hit it.
Thompson's hard work over the past 2 months paid off during the Summit League tournament, where she scored 30 points in the final 2 games while earning first-team all-tournament honors.
I think that I've grown a lot through this season, and I think it's going uphill right now, so hope I can keep it up.
Up next on the Journal, we turn our attention to the Jackrabbit men's basketball team. Oh, so close to the NCAA tournament again this year, but now it is on to the NIT for the Jacks. We'll take another look at that Summit League championship game against North Dakota State.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Well, the SDSU men's basketball team is in Fort Collins, Colorado right now. They are ready to take on Colorado State in the first round of the NIT. It's a 8 o'clock Central Time tip on Wednesday night. It's not where they wanted to be, but still a very good postseason opportunity for the men. The Jacks came that close to going back to the big dance again, but they couldn't overcome that cool shooting night and a couple of bad breaks in the championship game at the Summit League tournament. Well, the Summit League championships start with a bang for the Jackrabbits as they destroy Western Illinois in the first round. George Marshall starts out hot. Jake Biddle throws in a 3. And Reed Tellinghusen throws down a dunk, and the Jacks are off to a 12-2 lead. DeAndre Parks hits back-to-back threes, and the rout is on. The Jacks make 6 straight shots late in the first half. They make 7 threes in the first half and lead by 29 points after the first 20 minutes. Right back at it in the second half, Zach Horstman with a 3 to push the SDSU lead to 36. And then Skyler living up to his name. Skyler Flatten with the hammer to cap off a dominating performance, and the Jacks win 87-50 to move on into the semifinals. And who do they meet up with there? Those guys. First postseason meeting between SDSU and USD since 2004. Biddle gets going. Tellinghusen and Marshall knock down threes in the first 5 minutes, and the Jacks are off and running again. Skyler Flatten with a 3, and the Jacks lead by 16. DeAndre Parks with a 3, and the Jacks lead by 19. George Marshall with a 3, and the Jacks lead by 22, and it's 44-25 at halftime. The SDSU defense holds one of the best three-point shooters in the country to exactly 0 3-pointers. The Jacks hold them to just 4 threes in the game and 37% shooting overall. Jake Biddle with another 3-pointer late. The Jacks make 11 threes in this game after making 12 in the first round. Connor Devine comes in and blocks a couple of shots, and the Jacks beat the Coyotes 78-65 to move into the Summit League Championship. Well, remember all that great shooting in the first 2 games? Jacks could have used some of it against North Dakota State in the final. The Jacks shoot 24% in the first half. Reed Tellinghusen makes the only 3-pointer of the half. Good news is they are D'ing it up, and the Bison can't really make anything either. It's tied at 23 at halftime. The Jacks hold Summit League Player of the Year Lawrence Alexander to just 8 points in the first half, but he will come back and rip their hearts out a little bit later. Second half, the Jacks get a little offensive mojo going. Cody Larson with 13 of his 19 points coming after halftime. DeAndre Parks with 11 of his 13 points in the second half. The Jacks lead 35-31 on a dunk by Cody Larson with about 12 minutes to play. But Alexander comes back and hits back-to-back threes a little later, one with 8 minutes left, and then another one a minute after that, and the Bison grab what looks like a huge 9-point lead at 51-42. But Jake Biddle makes a layup to make it a 6-point game. DeAndre Parks makes a jumper to make it a 3-point game. Larson makes 2 free throws, and it's a 1-point North Dakota State lead. Jacks have the ball. George Marshall going inside, contact, and the ball goes out of bounds, and it is last touched by George Marshall. Still not over yet. Jacks foul Alexander. He misses the first of a 1-and-1. Jackrabbits get it. Larson to Parks. Time to shoot. Time to drive. They get a shot for the win. And NDSU wins by 1. Up next, back to the Jackrabbit women and a rapid-fire interview with their solid senior superstar, Megan Waytashek.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Megan Waytashek leads the Jackrabbit women in scoring and three-pointers made this season. She leads them in grade point average and in admiration from her younger teammates. The senior from Lino Lakes, Minnesota, leads the Jacks into the NCAA tournament this week, and she is in the rapid-fire interview right now with David Brown.
Why are you number 24?
Growing up, I was always number 24, in traveling and elementary school. And then I got to high school and 24 was taken, so I picked number 20 for some reason. So then coming to college, I just thought I'd bring back my glory days.
Is 24 like a superstitious number for a certain athlete, or you just like the way it looks?
Just like the way it looks.
Simple enough. Choose one, breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Breakfast.
Why breakfast?
I just like breakfast foods. Even if it's for dinner sometimes, I just make breakfast.
You're a cereal for dinner type of person?
Yeah, sometimes.
Absolutely. What is your guilty pleasure song?
I would say Somo, any song by Somo. Something to jam out to in the car when no one's listening.
What is the funniest movie you've ever seen?
Step Brothers. No matter how many times I watch it, I just always find myself cracking up.
Any particular moment that gets you every time?
I just think everything. By now I can quote it, so that's always fun.
Choose one, Target or Walmart?
Target for sure.
Yeah, you're from Minnesota,
Yeah.
so you know Target.
Yes,
Walmart.
for sure.
Even
Groceries, clothes, anything. Target's the way to go.
Is it bad only having a Walmart in Brookings?
Yes.
What is your favorite AJ moment?
There's quite a few after being here for 5 years, but last year at Western Illinois, it was a serious game. It was very tight on scoring and serious timeout, and he called us a bunch of knuckleheads. And us girls just started kind of, laughing and looking at each other, but in the heat of the moment, we really had to focus and just kind of get past that.
I'm sure you've been called worse.
Yeah, we've been called worse, definitely, but for some reason, knuckleheads, it was not what we were expecting at that moment in the game.
As I mentioned earlier, you're from Minnesota. What's your favorite part of Lino Lakes specifically, since that's your hometown?
Favorite part? I guess I like the closeness of everything around it. If I want to go to the mall, I gotta drive 10 minutes. If I want to go to Target, I gotta drive 2 minutes. Coffee shop. There's just so many things to do in a small radius.
What's the one meal you're great at making?
I would say lasagna. It's a family recipe, and I've just kind of mastered it.
All right, and then the last one, same thing I ask most players. Who wins a horse contest between you and your teammates?
I'll go with Macy. She seems to be the common thread for the choice.
Do you really think that, or are you just saying it?
I don't know. I think I could take her, but I'll give it to Macy.
There you go. You're off the hot seat.
All right, more from Waytashek and from Ellie Thompson and Mariah Claren when we come back. We'll get their reaction to the news that they are headed west to take on Oregon State in the NCAA tournament.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Welcome back. The SDSU women had to wait until the very end of the selection show on Monday evening, but eventually did see that SDSU Jackrabbit come across the screen. The Jacks and their fans had a party at Cubby's in Brookings, and here's some reaction from the players on waiting for the matchup to be announced and the mindset that they will have now going into the NCAA tournament.
Watching the selection show was a little nerve-wracking, wait till the last possible minute, but we're all excited and looking forward to watching some film and getting prepared.
I think the anticipation just kept getting bigger and bigger, and when we finally saw our name, it was just relief flooded through us.
I don't really like it, actually. I like it when we're about midway through the show, and we've got teams after us, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just we got to go into this tournament and play with a lot of effort.
It's kind of nerve-wracking, also exciting. Obviously we kind of want to get listed right away just to get the anticipation out of there, but no, it's just definitely a fun experience and fun to be here with all of our fans.
It's honestly a whole different level of competition, and you really have to be ready for the type of team you're going to play, and then also just be ready for your own team. You have to be playing at the best level you can possibly.
I definitely don't know what to expect. I'm expecting a lot different than regular season play, and we're definitely gonna try and step up our game here.
I don't know if it's really just us seniors. It's really been like the whole team. We have just this, go-getter mentality, and I think that's what got us back to the tournament, and it's been a team effort, a complete team effort.
Definitely very determined. As an upperclassman, I just kept telling the girls, what a fun experience it was, and I just really wanted to share it with them, and we really just got ready for it and really played well in the tournament.
I think that the whole team kind of just pulled it together. We were definitely feeling ourselves, like both on and off the court, we're all really close, and I think our defense really helped with that, and our defense really helps push our offense to the best of our abilities.
AJ used this quote, and he said, "Sweet are the uses of adversity," and I think we've really come to accept that and embrace it. We never know who's going to be playing at any particular time, but we've got people who can step in and take people's places, whether we are in foul trouble, whether we have injuries, so it's just a great team to be a part of.
Well, the Jackrabbits will get a lot of hoopla coming up this Thursday. They've got a press conference set at the tournament site in Corvallis, Oregon. They'll get a 1-hour practice on the floor on Friday morning, and then the game is 2 o'clock Oregon time, 4 o'clock Central time on Friday, and it is set to be televised on ESPN2. David Brown will be with the team in Oregon this week. We will have the wrap on whatever happens next week right here on the show. See you next week on Jackrabbit Journal.